Recording now.
Right.
All right. Ah, old man sound.
Ouch. Oh, I thought you
Sorry,
sat on
no.
something.
No. Yeah, my keys. No.
This is product placement if I use this Burger King cup.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you'll get a lifetime free refill.
People always get those fancy coffees. I'm fine with Burger King.
Do you remember the good old days of actually drinking yesterday's coffee?
I do it still.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. Well, I used to live with Craig Pounds, and he would make a pot of coffee, and we'd drink half of it or whatever, and then we get drunk and shenanigans, and then we would like the next day we wake up kind of hungover, and it was, oh yeah, there it is, and we didn't even microwave. We just turned the burner on again.
Oh.
So it just got more evil and tarry and just
so good. Though.
How are we still? Yeah, it really was. Yeah. So like if they have to do an autopsy, it's just gonna be like, what the hell? It's like
this stuff on
it's
their,
like carbon dating
in their bodies.
Yeah. All right, so Wendy, and I'll probably compose this so it'll be edited, so everything we say is not gonna appear other than maybe little snippets that are good and everything. When did you actually decide that you were going to be an artist? Oh, and if you can remember, you don't have to, but if you can remember to answer these in a way that's like you're actually kind of rephrasing the questions, like, well, I started art, and it just kind of moves it along better.
Oh, right, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but if you don't remember, that's all right. So, what? Obviously, you love art. Art is what you're made of because you're prolific at it. When did you decide this is it? I'm going to be an artist.
Well, I decided I was going to be an artist when I was about 5 or 6 years old. I grew up out in western Nebraska in a farm between Hay Springs and Chadron, and I would just spend my days laying in the fields looking up at the sky. It was a part of the country called the Mirage Flats, which is a good name for it because there's a lot of things I saw in the sky.
Oh, excellent.
But I would just daydream, and this thought just came to me perfectly formed. I think I'm going to be an artist when I grow up. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what kind of artist I would be. All I knew is that it seemed like the best way to communicate to people, because if you use words in conversation, so many things were skewed. Mm-hmm. But if I created something, if you create something for people, this is my internal thought, if you create something for people, they can make up what they see themselves. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of what they do anyway. But then it becomes their story and not me telling them what the story is. Yeah. And so I just set my mind to doing that, and other thing I thought was I would travel the world learning about different cultures and find the parallels to the world that I understood. And I think that came from my dad working at Pine Ridge and Rosebud, that interest in different ways of storytelling.
Excellent. And I'm making
You're making me nervous.
Oh, no, yeah.
Keep looking at the camera.
Well, I want to make sure that I'm getting a perfect shot, and it is actually super good.
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
It's like great. It's just I love the color in the background, and the cool thing is there's a guitar there and there's a guitar there.
Oh, excellent!
Yeah, they're looking at me. All right.
Blink, blink, blink.
Well, that's great. So then, did you just dabble in drawing, or did you just dive into painting? And
the two things I remember at that age were my parents would give me these gigantic newsprint sheets, just gigantic, and I would sometimes be intimidated with how to start on just the blank piece of paper. So I'd create these gigantic scribbles. I'd fill the whole page with just a gigantic scribble, and then I would zero in on little areas of the scribble and pull out imagery that was particular to me, almost like looking up at the clouds in the Mirage Flats. There's things that show up in the chaos, that seemed to tell a story. Oftentimes these gigantic scribbles would turn into like little towns and villages and cul-de-sacs and bridges and roadways and little towns, rivers.
So you're actually your art. You're almost you were a little kid, but you were already kind of a folk artist. Almost, it sounds like you were doing very realistic but heartfelt kind of things. There wasn't a lot of like army men or princesses and stuff. It was kind of folksy.
Yeah, we were flat with different things going on in them, and my parents would tell me if I go on too long.
Well, no, you just keep going because there's going to be about 8 seconds of all of this.
Right.
So far, you know what I mean. So you just keep going. I love it. It's perfect. And
I don't want to bore you.
There's no bore. This
Okay.
is incredible to me.
Okay.
The first thing you got to know, I'm honored you're doing this because I respect your artwork. I love you. You're a great person, and I've always been a fan. So,
Thank you.
and that's why I wanted you definitely to be in this whole thing I'm doing, is because I think you have a great story and there's a lot going on up there, I think. So, yeah.
So the other thing I remember making was my we were really poor, and my parents though loved travel, and so they created this working vacation for us every summer when they weren't teaching or working. They would load up this Volkswagen Beetle that we had, and we'd drive it all the way down to Ghost Ranch, New Mexico. And my parents, they worked on the ranch. My dad, it was a dinosaur dig, but it was also a place where people writers and artists did retreats, and Georgia O'Keeffe lived there. And it was, my parents just took whatever accommodation the ranch had for us to stay in. So it might be like an old trailer down by the asparagus patch, or a teepee that, or like literally a teepee. Or one time there was a solar cabin we stayed in. But whatever was available on the ranch, we stayed there while my dad ran the trail rides, took care of the horses. My mom ran this little theater down there, and she would take the children of the ranchers to create art projects for them. And one of them was like, we'd go down to the river in between the mesas and look for like animal footprints in the sand.
Explorers.
Yeah, and Mom would have like this jug of like melted hot wax, and we'd make candles in the footprints, stuff like
cool.
that.
That is so cool.
So that just the smell we were talking about earlier when you came. Triggers, yeah. The smell of sage, or the way rain falls in the desert in the afternoon, that kind of stuff. Like, and then I saw Georgia O'Keeffe once.
Wow, no way.
I didn't know who it was. I was that little lady out in the field holding a bone up to the sky. And my dad said,
"Get her!"
Yeah. I didn't know who it was, but my dad said she was a painter, and her friend taught the ceramics class on the ranch. I can't remember what his name is. He had like a big mustache. He ended up like taking care of her estate after she died.
Oh, wow.
He was a really tall, handsome man, and she must have been like in her late 80s or something. 80, I don't know how old she was. But he taught raku.
Oh, wow.
And so I got to witness that when I was growing up, like bury it in the straw and then dig it out, and watch it cool. And so art was always there. And I can't remember your question originally.
Oh, yeah, I was just how it started, basically.
Oh, how did it start? Yeah. It just became the best way to communicate for me. And I mean, I lived in my own head, but it was only me. That I was the only child for the first 5 years, and then my brother was just 5 years younger than me, so I would take him out to the field with me as a little baby. And he always thought I was trying to trick him and stuff like this, like, I don't know what he... my dad would like tie an inner tube behind the horse and drag us through the snow, the kind of mythology and storytelling that went into my psyche was no one knew where Crazy Horse was buried. That was like the big thing when I was a little girl. and the Moonies were coming to town, and don't go hang out with any people with flowers in their hair. And the bookmobile would come to town, and Dad's like, I'm not leaving you in the bookmobile by yourself today because the flower children are coming to Hay Springs and they're stealing children. And I believed it. I was
the
like,
Moonies.
how could it look so bad? What's bad about wearing a white sheet with flowers in your hair?
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, there were songs about it on the radio.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. I hadn't thought about the Moonies in a long time. I love it. That was the key word too, Moonies.
It was, and my dad used flower children though, I think. And then he would come home from his job and tell me all these wonderful, fantastical stories about, so you could see so many stars in the sky from where we lived. And he'd tell me the Lakota story about the 7 sisters in the sky. And their brother who was angry with them and turned into a gigantic bear and chased them to, they ran and they were sent up to the heavens. And he clawed the sides of this rock, and that's Devil's Tower.
Oh, yeah, wow.
And when you were Crazy Horse was buried, this kept coming back into my life. And so I had this idea that I'd be able to travel the world and learn about other cultures and how did it fit into my understanding of the world. I had this inkling that there were stories all around the world that were the same story, but just told completely differently.
Right.
And around 4th grade, my 4th grade teacher said to us, she said, oh, Crazy Horse is buried on my ranch. And I'm like, yeah, like you really know where Crazy Horse is buried. Like, I didn't say that to her.
Yeah.
But what I did know is that he never wanted his picture taken. Mm-hmm. So our family had one camera.
Because I think it steals their souls.
Yeah. So I had a box camera. What I'm trying to do for you right now, it's not making sense, is I'm trying to explain how the visual narrative gets into the painting. Where does it come from? So I took this camera that we had, this box camera, and I took it on a field trip to I'm not going to say her name, but she took us to a ranch. And she said, okay, kids, everybody get out of the bus. And that's where Crazy Horse is buried. And there was this gigantic dead tree in the middle of this field surrounded by living pines, Pine Ridge. All around, living pines, and then one long, big, old, dead tree. And she said he was buried under that tree. And all my classmates, of which there were only 8 other kids, went over the tree and they're looking at it. And I took out the camera and went click, because I was going to take his picture, and then I was going to set him free from her land. Because I thought, I really believed that. This magical way of thinking. And all the way back into town, I just kept thinking, I'm going to set him free, I'm going to set him free. And sure enough, we got the thing printed, and it's just a picture of all the kids standing around this old dead tree. And I took it, and I took it out into our fields, way, way out, and I buried it. And
who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
But in my paintings, I'm always hiding things and burying things and trying to reveal things, but it's still always a mystery to me because I'm not quite sure. I start with an idea of land and nature and all the mysteries, right. And then I just create layers upon layers upon layers.
Yeah, that's a great backstory. Jeez, yeah, I wasn't prepared for that. That was great. I'm gonna just do that. Don't worry about it. Okay. You don't worry about a thing.
I'm not gonna worry
don't
about
worry about it. This is perfect.
You sound like the Italian side of my family.
Yeah. I was hoping I wasn't getting glare off the cherry bombs, but if I do, I think it looks pretty fun, pretty cool. Oh, that's awesome. That's not. Yeah, oh god, that's perfect. Yeah, that's right. Now I'm not following the rule of chopping your head off, so.
All right.
My teachers of film will be mad at me, but I want.
Oh, I can scoot down.
No,
Oh, okay.
you're perfect. No, actually, because They always say you kind of go right up here with video, but I want stuff in there.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm starting a new revolution.
Cool.
So and then what? Did you enroll? Did you like school art classes, or were you always hanging out in art classes? Did you?
Oh, okay, yeah. So, where did I go to school?
Yeah.
I went to school. Sorry, let me pause there.
Yeah.
I went to school. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. God damn it! I went to school.
I spent a lot of years in
Believe it or not.
education.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But so you land in school.
Right. So I landed in school. I got out of that school up in when I went to school. I loved school, but I never met an art teacher until later in life. My parents divorced, and we moved. My mom moved us to Lincoln. And I don't know where my dad went for a while. He was going through a hard time, and I'm not quite sure actually where he lived for a couple of years. And in that interim, my mom found work in Lincoln, and then she got hired at Northeast High School to be an English teacher, and then she received a Fulbright and moved us to England.
Oh.
And so I was in England when I was about 14 years old. I met my first art teacher. And his name was Arthur Kellett, and he had wild red hair, and he raced Volkswagen Beetles. And he taught batiking and ceramics and painting, and he taught life. He had this vigor for life. And he and his wife took care of me and my little brother, because my brother came to stay with us for a while out there. We were there a year. And Mr. Kellett was always just talking about how art was the way to live, you know?
Yeah.
Crazy guy. He left his job teaching and he makes boats in Northern Ireland now. Just makes boats, carves them, and lives in a stone house.
It's like a magical life.
He and his wife, yeah. He looked like, he was a very magical person. Thank you.
And then you came back to Lincoln? Or?
Yeah, we moved back to Lincoln, and my mom said, "You're not going back to Northeast. The district's opened. Pick a school you can walk to because you're walking."
Yeah.
And it was East High, because that was the closest school besides Lincoln High. And I went to East High, and that's where I met a ceramics teacher, a painting teacher, mostly my friends, like the friends I made in art class. I mean, I'll never forget them. Mike Davis, Brian Wood, Danny Curtis. And when I wasn't sitting and drawing in drawing class, I was just sitting outside my locker, just listening to music and drawing. OMD, New Order, every punk band.
The classics.
It's the best, just to lose yourself in music and just draw and draw and draw. And I didn't seem to understand groups of people. Like, it's so fascinating to me, people that hang out in groups. I'd never really seen that before because, I came from a school of 8 kids, went to England. In England was a different kind of system, it was sort of not encouraged to just be in groups, cliques or whatever of people.
So then you said an interesting thing though that is a great tie-in with. So you'd sit by your locker and listen to music.
Yeah.
And then because not to jump too far ahead, but you're a musician, you're a very good musician. So how did you start doing your music? Because a lot of artists are musicians, which is, I think, not funny, but I think it's almost like it's a marriage between music and the fine arts of painting and drawing and sculpting and all that. It's just kind of the same. It's not different. It's just a little bit
Yeah.
off the edge of the drawings and stuff like that. So it's like it's oral drawings basically. So how did you get involved in music?
I got involved in music because when I was very little, I was maybe 5, my mom had me start taking piano. And then I just carried on with that. Even after we moved to Lincoln, I took piano lessons until they wanted me to become a teacher, piano teacher. And I didn't want to be a teacher. That's when I abandoned piano, you know. And I guess I didn't pick up. I mean, I loved music. It was part of our lives. I would sit very and sing very dramatically at the piano, like songs like, you know, You Light Up My Life, the Greatest American Hero theme song.
Top shelf.
It's so good. I mean, I can't believe. Okay, I was so stupid. But I really love the Muppet Show. Yeah.
Oh, the Muppet Show changed lives. I think
Muppet Show
changed lives. Totally,
it was everything.
Because it was a musical. It was a variety show done with freaking Muppets.
Yes, I love for that. I mean, I love puppets.
Yeah.
My mother let me keep my puppets in the glove box of her Pontiac Catalina.
Oh, sweet.
And so when we'd pull up to a stoplight in Lincoln, I would just hunker down in the seat and I'd pull this like green hairy puppet out of the glove box, and I would just like, it would be sitting in the passenger seat, and we'd slowly drive by like a guy running like a runner, and then just mimic everybody that I just could communicate so much better through puppets, through music, through drawing.
Well, and it was so cool because it was almost like a vaudeville. The Muppet Show, because they'd have back scenes where Kermit's like, okay, everybody up to the set, the chickens to the set, and then all the chickens would run and they'd be waiting in the wings.
Little babies would be sitting there like the babies.
Yeah, all the things that you never actually saw on the show, but it was like supposed that you would have seen if you would have been there. So
there'd be just like a baby sitting in the straw. The Muppet babies were hilarious, like the literally human babies.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't literally human babies.
I get it.
Yeah. Anyway, so how did music get in my life? I thought, that was a gateway.
But then you've put out a number of CDs, a couple, right?
Yes.
What are you on now? I mean, because
I'm about like in next year, first part of next year, I'll release the next one with Tremulant. I'm really happy with it. Excuse me. Hopefully you don't put that burp in there.
Well, you can just state it again.
It just derpled up from the pits of my stomach.
Yeah,
it's a stupid girl.
My CD's coming out, but I really want to. And print. We'll send that to Eric. Here's your next promo. It's a million seller.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, but you hooked up with Eric. And,
yes. Okay. So I will never forget the day I called Eric. I really started writing music like 6 or 7 years ago. I'd never written my own song. I never thought I could. I always questioned songwriters, what comes first, the lyrics or the tune? No one could ever answer me. So I'll never forget, for writers, I was in this writers group for like 25 years, and one day I'm going to write a song, So I only knew 3 chords on the guitar. My guitar teacher, because I went to KU, my guitar teacher down there was Chuck Mead, who ended up being in a band called BR549 down in Nashville. But before he left Lawrence, he taught me, I had like 3 guitar classes with him. So I basically knew as many chords with plus an E minor. And so I was like sitting in my bedroom, and I pulled the covers over my head with a guitar, and I thought I wanted to write a song about this experience I'd gone through, and but write it in the third person, thus removing myself completely from the whatever. And it was just it was so cathartic to write a song about it, and then to record it over and over again in my headphones and listen to how I sounded, singing it back to myself, because I felt like the performance of it was just as important, like how that vocal sounds, to layer that and get that emotion in there correctly, and then remove all emotion and just sing it like almost flatline and see what that would sound like. So I did a series of, like, a lot of experimenting for a couple years, and then one day I called Eric. I was terrified, and I said,
It's Eric Medley.
Medley, yes, Eric Medley. And I asked him, would you listen to some of my songs and tell me what you think? I didn't think he was going to say, well, we'll put you on the label and we'll have you do 2 albums with us. I didn't think he was going to say that. But that's what happened. And so it was just a great motivator, just thinking that somebody was listening. Because most of the time I wonder, is anybody listening? Is anybody looking? And knowing that I could tell this story to someone and it's Eric and he'll listen, was just very motivating for me. And I think I got better at what I was doing. I know one thing I'm good at is putting wonderful musicians together. Like, it's like a palette of, like, incredible sound. And there are people out there, this is so stunning to me. There are people you can go and you can call them up and they don't know who you are. And you can say to them, I have this story that I wrote. I've heard you play. You're an incredible violinist or guitarist or whatever. I didn't write your part for you. Will you listen to it and put something in there?
Right.
And just the most incredible. I've worked with the
you're
most.
Scratching your mic there.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I've worked with some of the most incredible musicians, and this process is same with painting. It's the process of putting everything together. Editing is just as important, and then bringing it all back into, like, a finished piece that
you can be proud of, basically.
It's just so
or
wonderful.
Other people can enjoy as well. That is the beauty of collaboration of music. I love how you do that too. You go, here's what I did. Now what does it make you feel like?
What do you hear?
Yeah.
I love to say that. Like, so this last album that hasn't come out yet, I went down to the Zoo Bar 2 years ago. It was my 3rd time hearing him play guitar. Red Vocart. Do you know who he is? He played with Merle Haggard before Merle died. He's Canadian, but he was living in Austin. He came through Lincoln and sat in with a band and played. And after he was done playing, he was incredible. I said, that was really good. And he goes, oh, I'm just a rock in the fan. No, you're not, but okay. That's what a rock in the fan. That's not a rock. I've heard a rock in the fan. But I'm just going to sound like a real asshole because I'm going to be that person that goes, if I sent you my music, would you consider recording? And he goes, no, send it to me. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, I didn't think he would actually say that. Also, I didn't have any songs written for him. So I disappeared for like 4 months, and then I wrote a bunch of songs. And then I sent him scratch tracks. And then he recorded on them. And it's just beautiful what he made. And I haven't released that yet. That'll be next year, but I don't know. It's just...
I'm excited to hear that. I loved your last one.
Oh.
But I'm going to be 100% honest. I listened to it.
Yep.
Loved it. But I really haven't revisited it because I'm in the world, and you probably are too, where you find something you like or whatever, and then all of a sudden there's another little shiny object, and you got to run over to that one, and I hate myself for that. But I want to just get to a point where I can kind of, enjoy things rather than just ingest them and then be done with it, and then ingest them and be done with it. And that's what I think was going on now with like phones and stuff and crap. People, it's instant gratification, and I hate that so much. I don't want to be instantly gratified. I want to have a timed memory to it. I want to have, like, when people, oh, what was the actor's name? And so everyone's on their phone racing to get to who's the actor, and then it's like Norm Feldman or whatever, and then they'll never think of Norm Feldman ever again, but they got it right. You know what I mean? And then someday the next day you could ask, okay, you remember who Norm Feldman is? No, and that's unfortunate. I think what happens with music, happens with art, and I want to change that. I want people, that's what this is for, actually, is so people can revisit it. You know, like it's there, and you know, I think it'd be fun.
I
So.
think slowing down is really important. This has only been in the last decade that it's gotten this bad.
Yeah.
In the last 7 years, specifically, but I'm in the process of doing that myself. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but it's the truth.
Yeah, it is.
I just every time, like, okay, so right now I'm getting ready for a show, a solo show, and it'll be probably the first one in 13 years that I've, you know, feel like I'm going someplace new with the work. And you know what? Maybe I'm not. I don't know. Maybe I don't have enough objectivity. But I have to call everybody I know. Now, there's probably 3 people that I really know in Lincoln, right? Like,
Yeah.
it takes a long time to get to know people.
Mm-hmm.
But I call up my mom, call up my neighbor, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to answer the phone for like 4 to 6 months. And I try to prepay all the bills that I can. Because even opening the mail or taking a phone call or thinking about having to go get laundry detergent or whatever, it takes me totally off track. And I never had children. I decided not to. I decided not to ever get married. I just felt, excuse me, belch. No wonder. Brack. Oh.
That's a keeper. I'm sorry to say that's going in.
I just want to get married.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get married. And you know, I almost got married. I don't know why I brought this up. It's just that people do comment a lot about, oh, you're prolific, you're blah, blah, blah. But I'm not doing anything else, man. I'm not doing anything else. I mean, I'm not in a relationship with anyone. I don't have children to raise. The last couple of years I've been taking care of my mom, and it's been probably one of the most gratifying things I've ever had the honor of doing, is taking care of someone. Sorry. Just taking care of someone is like really incredible. Now, if in my younger years, I'd be like, oh, that would have been a good idea to have a family. You don't have to throw it all into art. There might be somebody out there that's supportive of you and you can marry and they'll support your art and they'll support this weird vision you have. But I just never met that person.
Yeah.
And never had kids and
to interrupt real quick, who cares? I mean, it's like I don't spend nearly enough time doing art. I would love to do what you do, to be honest. I would love to wake up and then, you know, well, I take that back. I didn't mean to say I would love to do what you do because I don't know what you do and blah, blah, blah. But kind of one of my fantasies is to be able to just do art, you know, and my stomach's growling, but just do art,
right,
you know, and be damned. But and that kind of leads me to my next question, actually, because a lot of artists they want to be full-time artists, but it's really insanely difficult. And you have made a go out of being a professional artist, and you've succeeded, because it's not about all monetary. In fact, I think that's one of the lowest common denominators of being an artist is the money. I mean, if you could just do art and eat and have a dog, I wouldn't even give a shit if your bank account was open or not, as long as you could do that. But you always have to struggle to get that next, you know, thing. And how does that, let me phrase this, I guess, better. How does being a professional artist, that's not like a newscaster, how does being a professional artist make, or what are the pros and cons? Maybe how I know it's got to be difficult at times, but at the same time, it's very rewarding. How would you sum up being a professional artist? I guess it's a lot of questions. I'm trying to figure out the perfect, way to say it.
Yeah.
But you're a professional artist, and
am I?
You are, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
I think if you sell a piece of art and it's genuinely in someone's soul, that's professional. That's a professional artist, in my opinion. And you do it for your bread and butter, basically. So.
What comes first?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Am I a professional artist? Am I? I am a professional artist. It sounds weird when I say it both ways. I used to go around telling people, you can be anything you want to be. But it is an extremely difficult life. It's very difficult. As you get older, it gets even more difficult. Only because you do have to have a roof over your head, you have to have food, you have to be able to pay your bills. But here's the crux of the thing. It's a mind game I have to play with myself, which is this. Anytime I begin to become
Excuse me, I'm interrupting there.
Anytime
Yeah, yeah.
Anytime I begin to become paralyzed with fear about how am I going to get through the winter, or I just really have to fight to put it out of my head because it interferes with the work. Lots of things can interfere with the work being true. The most important thing is that the work stay true. And why do I say the work has to stay true? What do I mean by that? You recall I was saying when I was younger, how do you communicate with people? The truest way to communicate with people is to tell a true story. It might be convoluted how you get there, but to keep it true, that comes out through the work. And it's a universal story, and then people relate to it, and then they seem to want to then own it, right? If it's not true, they don't want to own it. It's an abstract thing. You don't know what's going to happen. I don't ever know what's going to happen. I don't know how I got this far. When you asked you said I'm a professional artist, I thought to myself, am I? Because I also look around at people that are in art history books or, at the next gigantic art fair out in Miami or in Spain or in New York. And I think, can we start this question again?
Oh yeah, no. So far it's gold, but you just see that I will inevitably I'll probably edit it little.
I know it's not going to be very much of this
it'll
in
fluid
there,
though,
yeah.
but it'll still make a storyline. But
refocus me though.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so I personally think you're a professional artist because you like you said, you do true work and people respond to that. Like, oh shit, yeah, that's a real thing I'm looking at. That's not hotel art. You know what I mean? You're not in here doing,
right.
That's $50, $100. Yeah, exactly. And each one of your paintings is authentically different and inspired by your thoughts and everything, and people gravitate toward that. And this is the most cliche shit anyone's ever said, but Van Gogh didn't sell a single painting. You've heard that story about like how he died penniless and all that, and now if he were alive today, he'd be a billionaire.
He knew that was going to happen, though. If you read his letters to his brother.
Oh, I've not explored him too much.
There was like over 600, between 600 and 800 letters to his brother.
Oh wow!
And he only painted 10 years.
Yeah.
That was it.
Wow.
But he only wanted to connect with people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason, and these letters are so beautifully written.
But people absolutely think he was a professional artist.
Now they do.
Yeah.
They wrote petitions to drive him out of town.
That I've heard.
They hated the guy.
Yeah.
He had no person. They didn't like his personality.
Yeah. So I guess it also it might be something of matter of fact with someone's perspective on you as being a professional or not. You know what I mean? But I think you personally know maybe professional is the wrong way to look at it, because professional sounds like, you're out there hustling but you're a authentic artist. And without sounding trite, you're a fucking artist. I mean, that's the way whether you make a dime or not, you're stuck with it, in my opinion, Because I'm kind of the same way. I go through insane gluts, but at the same time, I know at the end of the day, I'm gonna want to do art all goddamn day if I could, And that makes you professional because you're geared towards that. I'm not a professional graphic designer.
Right.
Even though my card says professional graphic designer.
Yeah. It does?
Well, no, but it's I've
that
got
was
the
smart, Paul.
people. Yeah, but people say that your experience is what your professionalism is, and it's not true.
Right. I all I know is, okay, here's the downfall. Okay, I'll tell you the downfall. Downfall is, I used to want to change my name and just have it be Bantam. I've probably told you this before, because then people would call and they go, "Is Bantam there?" And I would say, "No, Bantam's not here right now. Can I take a message?" Because so many people, there's just so, I don't want to take this turn, but it goes without saying, it has to be pointed out, there are so few women that are represented in the galleries. And it's been that way since I was wanting to become a full-time working artist. I mean, the Guerrilla Girls, for crying out loud, came to the University of Kansas. They were professional, working women artists that had to dress in literally guerrilla costumes. They were called GUERILLA, though, because they were pointing out that the museums, the galleries, nobody was representing women artists. And they came and did a panel discussion of what it's like to be a working woman artist. Here I am, even today, at the age of 50 years old. I've been working full-time at this since I was 20 years old, and the value of my work has not increased more than 20% a year since that time. Who sets the value? Well, things change. It used to be that the dealers set the value, but with how things have changed in our culture, I have to be I'm not quite sure how to reduce this down to just a couple sentences, but, I went to New York to go find my favorite dealer, because I used to dream when I was growing up, after I met the Guerrilla Girls, that I would one day meet a dealer that would protect me and care about the work, care about what happened to me. That would be my family, And so I went to New York to meet this dealer that I'd heard about. He had made Jackson Pollock and Jasper Johns and Helen Frankenthaler, and I ran like the Dickens to get to his gallery before it closed in New York. And I had my portfolio with me. At the time, it was just a small 3-ring binder with just like color copies of my paintings. And when I walked into the gallery, there was just Jasper John monoprints all around the room. And then the dealer was at the back of the room, and he must have been 80 some years old at the time. And I said, how do you have any other people's work up? And he goes, I just have Jasper Johns now. I said, Jasper Johns was the most loyal of all the artists I represented. I go, well, why is that? He said, because Jasper Johns was an orphan. And orphans need the dealer. And he wasn't going to leave me. And it was a relationship. You find a dealer, you gladly give them half of everything you make. If they protect you and protect your painting and understand you and shelter you kind of from this. Because let's face it, I mean, artists are not
represented.
Well, we're also not really made for the world. I mean, we're sensitive people and we have a hard time, you know. You need a dealer that's got a business mind but also cares about what happens to you. And he looked at me and he goes, well, the internet is going to change everything. And this was in, what year would have been? 1997. I was in New York that first time. And artists won't need dealers anymore. And I thought, well. And then he asked me if I had my portfolio with me, because he sussed out right away, I don't know how he did it, that I was an artist. And he asked me if I had my portfolio, and I said I did not. Because I didn't want to show Leo Castelli my portfolio and demean everything we just talked about. I wasn't looking for representation. Or maybe I was, but maybe I just wanted to know what was going to happen in the future. Mm-hmm. And I never did meet a dealer that really, after that, you know, that really cares about what happens to the artist. Mm-hmm. So I guess a couple things happen in life to, what is that called? When you iron, you like really, you galvanize me to continue onward, regardless if I had anyone representing me. But a lot of people don't understand it's not just dealers. It's the same with any job. Nobody knows all the work that goes in behind the scenes. And so that's okay. So the thing is just to keep steadily working, keep a steady thing. Make sure you go out into the world and show people your work. Make sure people see it. Never cheat anybody. Never, always just be as true as you can to the work. But what's the other option? The other option is to take a steady job and suffer the depression from not creating. Because I don't know how people survive that. That's just the depression. It's like you're always, I'm not going to say you, I'm just going to say me. People say, why are you so prolific? Well, I'm outrunning this big dark shadow. I don't know, but it brings me peace when I create. It brings me a lot of joy. I'm telling a story, I'm solving problems. I feel like I'm involved in life. But when it's done, oh my gosh, this crushing depression of like, just, I don't know where it comes from. Do you know where it comes from?
I would think it's maybe the fear of not living up to what you think you should be living up to. What you're missing out in your own head.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like sometimes I can't, like if I go home and I'm at home and I don't have anything to do, I start getting kind of freaked out. I've got my wife and my kid or whatever, but I just always kind of have to have a pen or something. I can't just sit and watch a movie. It bums me out. And Carlos, God love her, she likes watching movies, and she always wants me to watch a movie with her. But we'll get like halfway into it, and I am not doing something right now. You know what I mean? And that's a real pain in the ass to live that way. And I think that's what artists do. real artists. Well, everyone can be a real artist, but artists per se need to have something coming out of them creatively almost at all times, or you go a little bit batshit. And I think that's probably what you go through, as I see what you're telling me, and I see. I mean, it's just like you probably are not someone that would be happy just sitting on a beach for a week, just staring off. Well, I would. Well, maybe you would be, but you know what I mean. Okay, that's a bad example. You would not be happy going to see a movie, right? Or you would be, but if you had to, let's say you had to go a couple times or something. You know what I mean? Is that making any sense?
Yeah.
Not a movie. That's another shitty example. But I mean,
No.
but you feel compelled to create, and sometimes you were talking about that shadow, which was a great analogy. That's going in for sure. Is because I think you feel that you're not, if you're not producing, you're not living up to you. You know what I mean? You're not helping yourself.
What good am I doing in the world?
Yeah,
I think that's the question.
Yeah.
Like,
Or
what
yourself,
good am I doing?
actually,
yeah. I see sometimes I'll teach a workshop or have a class, and the minute I put tools in somebody's hands to create, they first of all, they're terrified. Where do they start? Once they get past that and they get involved in creating something, it's dead silent. There's this meditative process that goes into it. I've observed it. People don't realize this. I'm observing them to help me survive. How is this working? This works for all kinds of people. Why don't more people do it? Yeah, it's God, it's so weird. God. I mean, I'm not a religious person, but the people that your wife, what an incredible person, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh yeah.
Like can
putting up with me for one. I mean, seriously, I would not marry me ever. So she's a goddess for it. So.
A couple times I've been I went and worked at Sebastian's table last winter and waited tables. Mm-hmm. It was such a relief. It was so strange. It was like,
oh yeah, like another weird little.
Oh, I don't have to do. All I have to do is what would you like? I will bring that to you. And
here,
can I get you some more water? Would you like some more wine?
Are you thirsty?
It's just a gratifying job. It was so gratifying,
That's super funny.
It was, and I didn't have to decide what to wear. I give them the outfit. I go there. I'm just and I think maybe some of the kids that work with me in their 20s or whatever, what's this lady doing here?
Yeah, what the
fuck? She's always smiling.
Yeah.
What do you got to smile about?
I am learning how to deal. Yeah.
This is like heaven. I'll fold these napkins for 2 hours if you want me to. I love it.
Well, that's meditation too.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, maybe that's. I actually like vacuuming.
Oh,
because I like seeing stuff get sucked up and everything.
Satisfying.
It's kind of satisfying watching stuff get sucked up like that. And that's kind of art too. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, if I can just sit and draw, even if half the time I don't have any kind of clue what I want to draw, but I just start anyway. And it's all surreal and it goes in a pile and never see it again. But
here's my question to you: do we need an audience though?
I do, but I don't. If that makes sense. I love to get accolades, but yet I don't know what to do with them. But at the same time, I would rather not go to my opening. You know what I mean? I don't want to have anything to do with it. I want to be behind the mirror, watching people look at my art and get my ego stroked. And then not have to explain what were you thinking? I was not. That's why this painting is here. Yes.
I'm going to tell you something. So I'm doing this gigantic mural at East High School. And I'm doing a mural at a big high school.
Go figure.
And I don't know, it's so wonderful. I was so excited. And then they approved a drawing that they wanted. I didn't just say, you're going to get this one, that's it. Yeah. They approved a drawing, and then I said, okay, well, it's going to take a while because I can only go on weekends at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and then I'm until noon. So it might take a while. It's because it's like 39 feet long or something like that. Anyway, so it's been months I've been working on it. I go to the high school last week to work with some of the kids. And then I'm checking out through the administration offices, and there's the secretary's at the main desk, and I said, so how do you think about this mural? What do you think about what's going on with this mural? And she goes, God, it was supposed to be done by now. It's so bright. And I realized right away she did not know that I was the artist.
Right, candid. Now you can fish.
And I go, at first I was like, wow, that hurts really bad. And then I realized they approved the drawing. Everyone's going to have their own opinion. So as I get older, I'm just more like this, like, so like the slings and arrows of what anyone thinks, it's less, it's almost hardly, it's...
I heard a great thing the other day about how she is not your audience.
No.
So screw her, because it was this one self-help guy. Actually, this is embarrassing, but there was a self-help guy who was researching because he was talking about techniques and videoing. And one of his things is he said he was doing this seminar and it was going really well. It was like one of his best ones. And he looked down and there was a guy. You could tell he hated it. But so he tried harder and he was like, kind of focusing all his energy on this guy. And then afterwards he said, wait a minute. This wasn't for that guy. Because that guy will not take anything I give him at all. So what I need to do is just push him off, and then whoever listens and appreciates it, that's who I'm going for. And that's the same with you. With that probably is she wouldn't like it anyway, no matter who did it. No matter what it was, probably. She probably goes into the quick shop and bitches about the price of soda or something, right?
I realized who's sitting there at the desk telling anybody how much she hates the mural.
It's taking forever. So she
the flower's too bright.
And that's why I think there's a weird connection too. It's like bands, you notice how, like, remember the Dixie Chicks got in all that trouble, but it wasn't trouble at all. They just said fuck Bush, and everyone's like, yeah, well, at least the cool people were. But the country music turned on her, didn't play their music. They were playing arenas, then they were playing like 500 seaters, right?
Yep.
But they were playing 500 seaters of the most dedicated Dixie Chicks fans ever. That was their core group. That arena, 90% of them just bought the CD because it was on top 10 country. They didn't probably ever listen to it, but they went to the concert because it was country western.
That's right.
And I think that's what artists do too. Is they kind of hone their people that want to go see them. Like whenever I have a show, it's moderately attended, but it's always the same 50 people, right? And there's hardly anyone else that I'm grabbing anymore. It's just the same 50 people, but they're genuinely happy to see my work, and I'm like, kick ass. I would love to have 500 people, but that maybe I don't need to cater to anyone else because I'm not gonna change my style, change what I do because I want 500 more people. But
it used to bum me out, but
it used to bum me out incredibly.
Yeah,
when you'd have a show and there'd be 20 people the whole night, and you go, "What? I flyered the shit out of this thing." I told everybody, and then you just realize, well, yeah, it's not for everybody, maybe, and maybe it was just bad timing, because there's been a couple of shows that I've had that I'm very proud of, attendance wise, but not so much the art,
Hey, you never know where it's going to come from.
You don't, yeah. Who knows? The next one, nobody will show up. The one after that, 500 people. So
the fact that anybody, if it touches anybody, I think is a real success. I mean, the other day I went into Quichua Gallery, and the women that work there were unboxing some teeny tiny drawings and laying them out on a table, and they're wearing white gloves. And I'm like, oh, what do you have here? Well, we just got this, somebody passed away, and we just got a couple hundred drawings from this artist named Edward Gorey. And I went, this artist named Edward Gorey? I go, do you guys know what you have here? Wait. Did you just say, may I please approach the table? I just freaked out. Yeah. I'm like, okay, wait a second. Where did these come from? And I looked at, I needed some magnifying glasses, because there were these itty bitty drawings, ink drawings with gouache, like really intense color. Just almost pure pigment.
Yeah, he was amazing. It was amazing
they were little tiny. There's one of these two monks walking through like a tower, right? And then suspended in different areas in the tower from the brickwork, there'd be like a leg or an arm or like just a torso. There's no title. Like, this is just beautiful. And then there was one of these. All these men, they all had the same nose and they were wearing the same pinstripe suit. And there were maybe 6 of them in a tiny living room, each of them balanced on the arm of a chair, or one of them on a pillow, or it was like the game of Shark. But they're all dressed in pinstripe. There are all these little meticulously drawings. And I go, I had, the mystery of where they came from, I don't know where they came from. But, of course, they were gone in a day, sold in one fell swoop to somebody.
Bet. Yeah. Hopefully they're in a good place.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
oh my God.
So you think about Edward Gorey just sitting in his old rambling house with his cats in his pajamas most of his life.
And he probably had sparse shows, too.
I think he did.
So, well, this is about ready to run out of juice. I've got another one, but... would you allow me... Okay, first of all, if you have anything that you can think of that you want to, inspire or say, definitely. I would, if it's okay, I would like to come back. Would that be all right? Because I want to get shots of all the art and everything, and I gotta go back to work. I tried to take today off, but because it's so close to Christmas, they're jamming all the shit.
Oh yeah.
Into can I have that by Christmas? Well, what are you gonna do with it? Sit on it and not do anything until after Christmas. But we want it before Christmas, so.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I'm so sick of it. That's why I love this. It's great. This is the best.
Well, do you want to take your? Do we want to take anything that I just want to go now?
Well, here's what we and I actually would like to follow up on a couple other things for maybe. I would like to walk around with you, and you can tell me about some of the pieces, and maybe a couple more questions or whatever.
Yeah.
Would that be okay? Maybe in a couple days.
Yes.
Okay, because I know earlier I don't I do appreciate the shit out of your time.
Oh.
So
This is really. It's nice to talk about.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Well, it's great to hear it because I didn't know half if any of the stuff you're telling me. But I don't want to interrupt your processes of what you're doing. So.
Well, I would like you to.
And I do want to come down to the residency for sure.
Okay. So what do you want to do first? So those paintings are in process now.
Okay.
So I'm thinking maybe if you wanted to shoot any footage of actual working. Mm-hmm. Do you want it?
Yeah, I would love that. When
How soon can you get away?
Tomorrow.
Let's do it tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay.
Let's do that part tomorrow.
Okay. 1 o'clock again?
You can come you can come anytime.
Really?
I like to work in the morning. So
do you? Okay.
You could come at 1 tomorrow. That's fine if that works for you.
I can probably shuttle out of there at like 9:30. Come here for an hour, half hour.
Oh yeah, do this here and then do that there.
Yeah. Oh well, how far? It's at Marriott, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. But I want to come back and film some of this.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, I was like,
you want to do it the same time of day?